Relative clauses. 1. Definition. Relative clauses give us extra information about something, someone, or identify which particular thing, person we are talking about. 2. Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns act as connectors in sentences, linking additional information or specifying relationships, enhancing clarity and cohesion. 1. Which, for things and animals. For example, did you see the film which was on TV last night? 2. Who, for people, and animals when we want to give them a personality. For example, what is the name of the man who created the internet? 3. Whom, for people as the object of relative clause. For example, is that the man whom we saw at the cinema yesterday? 4. Whose, for possession. For example, that is the man whose sister discovered a new planet. 5. That, for people or things. For example, find someone that can check on your home while you're away. Store away any objects that could become damaging missiles. 6. When, 4 times. For example, do you remember the day when we met? 7. Where, 4 places. For example, this is your home, the place where you keep your most treasured possessions. 8. Why, for reasons. For example, there are often very good reasons why one house is burgled and another is not. 3. Defining relative clauses. 1. Defining relative clauses clarify the noun, providing essential information to understand the context fully. For example, find someone who can collect your mail for you. Store away any objects that could become damaging missiles if it gets windy. The relative clause in this example identifies the type of objects. 2. Without these relative clauses, it is unclear which person, place or thing we are referring to. For example, store away any objects if it gets windy. We do not know which objects. 3. We can leave out the relative pronoun when it refers back to the object of the defining relative clause. For example, maybe there's a neighbor that you can ask. In the evening, a house that's very dark can really stand out. 4. Non-defining relative clauses. 1. Definition. Non-defining relative clauses add extra, non-essential information about something. For example, I applied to the university, which is located in the center of the city. There is only one university, a non-defining relative clause. I applied to the university which is located in the center of the city. There is another university which is not in the center of the city, a defining relative clause. 2. We do not use the relative pronounce that. For example, the burglars got in through the kitchen window, which the owners had forgotten to shut. Not the kitchen window, that the owners. 3. We separate the relative clause from the main clause with commas. For example, a letterbox can become full of uncollected letters, which is a great help to a burglar. Mr. Smith, who was my primary school teacher, got married last week. 4. We cannot leave out the relative pronoun. For example, my new house, which I have just redecorated, is much larger than my old house. Not my new house, I have just redecorated. 5. The relative pronoun can refer to a single noun phrase or to a whole clause. For example, my neighbor, who lives upstairs, often looks after my flat. Who refers to a noun phrase. Some people seem to think it's just a matter of locking all the doors, which is fine as long as there are no nasty storms while you are away. Which refers to a clause. 5. Compare the key differences between defining and non-defining relative clauses. Defining relative clauses. 1. Identifying the thing that you are talking about. Non-defining relative clauses. Give additional, non-essential information. 2. That can replace who or which. That cannot be used. 3. The relative pronoun can be left out if it refers to the object. 3. The relative pronoun cannot be left out. 4. No commas. Must have commas. 6. Prepositions. 1. When prepositions are used with relative clauses, they usually come at the end of the clause in spoken English. For example, you may have a neighbor that you can rely on, informal. 2. In formal style, the preposition can be placed before the relative pronouns which or whom. For example, I was unsuccessful in obtaining a place at any of the universities to which I applied. My boss, for whom I have worked for over 30 years, has decided to retire. 7. Exercises. Rewrite as one sentence using a relative clause. 1. My grandfather was an airline pilot. He is 65 years old now. 2. Friendly People is a comedy. It's my favorite program. 3. My friend Michael often comes to play with me. He hasn't got any brothers and sisters. 4. My sister loves wearing hats. Her hair is brown. Here are the answers from 1 to 4. 1. My grandfather, who is 65 years old now, was an airline pilot. 2. Friendly People, which is my favorite program, is a comedy. 3. My friend Michael, who hasn't got any brothers and sisters, often comes to play with me. 4. My sister, whose hair is brown, loves wearing hats. 5. New York is an enormous city. It's where I was born. 6. This CD is scratched. I only bought it yesterday. 7. My brother George has got some great shirts. He hates me borrowing his clothes. 8. Our neighbors have never invited us to dinner. Their house is directly opposite ours. Here are the answers from 5 to 8. 5. New York, where I was born, is an enormous city. 6. This CD, which I only bought yesterday, is scratched. 7. My brother George, who hates me borrowing his clothes, has got some great shirts. 8. Our neighbors, whose house is directly opposite ours, have never invited us to dinner. 9. My friend, Simon, plays the guitar. He has just released a CD. 10. Prince Charles is heir to the throne of England. His wife was Princess Diana. 11. Microsoft has a lot of power in the world of computers. That annoys some people. 12. The euro replaced a number of national currencies. It was introduced in January 2002. Here are the answers from 9 to 12. 9. My friend, Simon, who has just released a CD, plays the guitar. 10. Prince Charles, whose wife was Princess Diana, is heir to the throne of England. 11. Microsoft has a lot of power in the world of computers, which annoys some people. 12. The euro, which was introduced in January 2002, replaced a number of national currencies. 13. Friends ran for 10 years. It is one of my favorite series. 14. Venus is a very hot place. It is much closer to the sun than the Earth is. 15. Cricket is popular in many countries around the world. It is played between two teams of 11. Here are the answers from 13 to 15. 13. Friends, which is one of my favorite series, ran for 10 years. 14. Venus, which is much closer to the sun than the Earth is a very hot place. 15. Cricket, which is played between two teams of 11, is popular in many countries of the world.